G'day, I'm Paul. It is time to finally drive the Suzuki Jimny. Been trying to get one of these for ages and just hasn't happened. So this is the new Suzuki Jimny Lite. And that is because it is light in the mass sense, and it's also light in terms of features and price. So it's priced at just under $30,000, only available in a 5-speed manual, and it really doesn't have any competitors. It kind of sits on its own. Today we're going to do a detailed review of this car, so if you do want to skip ahead to other parts of this review, you can use the time codes on the screen, or if you're on YouTube, you can scroll down and use the chapters below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you can find out every single time we drive pint-sized cars like this. So let's talk exterior design. You've got 7 colours to pick from. All but white is going to cost you $695 or $1,295 if you go for the two-tone. Sorry, it's so bright out here. Yeah, look, I mean, there's probably not a lot to be said about the design. It looks like a mini G-Wagon, and the light version even strips all of that back even further. So you've got halogen headlights instead of LED lights. So it is pretty basic there. You have these little holes here for the engine. It is a tiny little engine, but it only weighs just over 1,000 kilos, so it doesn't need a huge amount of grunt, and a little bit of cooling down the bottom there as well. All of this is plastic down the front with a set of driving lights down the bottom too. So it's a pretty straightforward setup. We'll jump around to the side. Look at this, steel wheels. Haven't seen these for a little while. So 15 inches in size and tiny little tyres. They're like bicycle tyres, 165 millimeters wide, so very small. You get wheel arch guards here as well, and you can actually see beneath the skin that chassis rail that runs all the way to the back of the car. So it is pretty cool to see all of that exposed. Indicator on the side there. Up the top here, wing mirror just has a plastic cover on it, so it's a pretty basic setup like the rest of the car. And look how high it is. So I'm 185 centimeters tall, about 6'1", and I'm sort of over the top of the car, so it is pretty small in terms of its size. That black cladding runs all the way down the back of the car here. You've got your fuel tank lid there, more steel at the rear here with drum brakes and more of that exposed chassis rail. And then come around to the back, you have a little aerial there, offset. You've got a brake light built into here, washer there for the rear window. You get a cover here for the spare tyre, which hangs off the back of the vehicle. And then your brake lights and indicators are all halogen down there. Jimny all grip because it is an all-wheel drive version, and then the door swings open as well, which I'll show you later on. So let me know what you reckon in the comments section below. Do you think this is a cool little 4-wheel drive? Would you buy one? Is it worth waiting? Because there is a fairly decent wait list at the moment. So let me know what you think down in the comments section below. So we're inside the Jimny Lite. We'll start off with the key, literally the key. It's a key that you put in the side of the keyhole. You've got a lock and unlock button. So I'll pop that in now and switch all this stuff on. So, you know, what can I say? The Jimny isn't exactly built to be the latest and greatest thing in the world, and you can kind of tell that here. It's all pretty old school and straightforward. Analog gauges ahead of the driver, sort of hard touch plastics everywhere, and that's fine. It's kind of just built for that. Don't go expecting anything too fancy. You'll notice here in the Lite version as well, you get this tiny little radio system here. So you don't get the infotainment system with CarPlay and all that sort of stuff like you do in the regular Jimny. So in terms of your touch points, well, there isn't anything to lean your arm on. It's all just hard stuff. How hard is it? Well, we've got our durometer. We've tested the main surfaces in this cabin. If you want to see how this car compares to others that we've tested before, have a look at the link in the description. Now, build quality. Kind of loose in the center there, but the rest of this feels okay. Our door slam test actually sounds pretty sturdy. So infotainment, this is going to be a very short discussion. I'll turn it on so you can see what it looks like. So it's like just that digital sort of display. You've got a CD player, which is nice. AM and FM radio. That's about it, plus Bluetooth as well. And it's all plumbed through a 2-speaker sound system, so not really a great deal going on here in terms of infotainment. Ahead of the driver, though, you do have a little digital display that you can cycle through, but yeah, it's all pretty straightforward. So safety tech, this has not a good safety crash rating, but it does have autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian detection. You don't have any blind spot monitoring, auto dimming mirror, or anything really like that. You do have a lane departure warning. You don't have any parking sensors or anything like that, although it is pretty easy to see out of this, and you have a tyre on the back in case you nudge anything. So yeah, not a great deal of safety tech. Moving on to practicality, and we'll start off with your connectivity. You have one USB-A port down here. You have a 12 volt outlet just next to it as well, 120 watt. In terms of storing your phone, obviously no wireless phone charger and stuff, but you can pop your phone down here if you want. And that's about it. On other storage, yeah, I mean, there's not really much else here. You've got a couple of cup holders there, and that's about it. So in terms of your cup holders, your coffee can go in there, but the problem is you've got to reach back to grab that and kind of take your eyes off the road each time. See if our bottle fits in there. Yes, no dramas, doesn't fit inside the doors though. And you have a glove box down here that's reasonably sized, little storage nook there, and a grab handle here just in case you go off-roading and things get a little bit hairy. Finally, comfort. So you have just heater controls with air conditioning. So that's all pretty straightforward. In terms of the seats themselves, both manually adjustable. Pretty comfy too, cloth material, so you know, you don't really move around too much. The car actually does move around heaps though, just with the lightest movement, it kind of just shifts around the place. On the steering front, you only have tilt adjustment. There's no reach adjustment. And on the reach test, all of this stuff is fine to reach while you're driving. Okay, so second row. I'm just going to climb over this. You can move this seat forward if you want, and you would if you were actually doing this properly, because you'd have a driver in there, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how much leg room we have. It's actually not bad back here. So I've got no creature comforts. There's no like bottle holders outside of the one here in front of me or anything else like that. No air vents either. But yeah, it's actually a pretty comfy place to be seated. And I'm surprised how much room there is here, which means there probably isn't going to be a great deal of boot room. If you do want to carry kids, you have 2 ISOFIX points and 2 top tether points in your second row. And you also do have a foot release on the passenger side to get that chair out of the way too. So yeah, not a bad space. So cargo space. There's not going to be a lot in here, I can tell you that much. So, little hydraulic arm on the door, it swings open. There it is there. It's 85 litres. So, let me wheel my bags in here. But 85 litres, I think it's 85 litres if you have that in its forwardmost setting there, because there's no way that would be 85 litres without that. And I think you can probably just fit a laptop bag in there. But the good news is, even though it is a 4-seater most of the time, you can drop this out of the way, and then it expands the space to not much under 1,000 litres, and that means you can actually load a few bits and pieces in here as well if you do want to. And on top of that, you can actually turn this into a bed as well. So that means if you want to go camping or something like that, you've actually got a little bit of accommodation there to have a sleep as well. Now, in addition to all of that, you also have storage under here as well. And the downside to this material is that whatever you put on there, it just slides around. So if you are going to use this as a daily, you probably want to have some grippy stuff on there as well. Okay, so it is time to do some light off-roading. I'll run you through the specs here first. So approach angle, 37 degrees. Departure angle, 49 degrees. That is ridiculous. And I mean, you look at the overhangs and stuff, and that is why you can achieve those crazy numbers. Ground clearance of 210 mil, which isn't amazing. In terms of your four-wheel drive hardware, you have two-wheel drive high range, which is regularly rear-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive high range, which you can't use on sealed surfaces, and four-wheel drive low range. There are no diff locks, but there is a hill descent control that works in 4 high or 4 low. So if none of that makes any sense, or you want to get a better understanding of where and when you should be using those controls, have a look at the video we shot previously explaining four-wheel drive controls just up there. Okay, so let's kick off with two-wheel drive first. So the reason I do this mogul to start with in two-wheel drive is to see what the traction control system is like. So because of the wheelbase, I'm going to have to go a little further forward than we normally would to get that driver's side wheel off the ground, which is about there somewhere. So I can hear the traction control working, and the problem with the manual is, and traction control, when it does start to bite, you will potentially stall the car. So if I let out of the clutch now, it almost stalls the car, but the traction control system actually worked pretty well there. So hold that handbrake on and just ease out of that. Come on. Nice, excellent job, Jimny. So did really well there because the traction control system was biting and bogging down the revs, but it wasn't biting enough for it to completely kill all of our torque. So nice job there in two-wheel drive high range. We'll now turn around and we'll give that a crack in four-wheel drive high range. Okay, so to engage four-wheel drive high range, we just slip this down into 4 high. You get a little indicator light come up there saying that's engaged, and now we have all 4 wheels getting torque. It's splitting torque 50-50 between the front and rear axle. Let's see how it goes here. So a lot of dual cab utes get stuck here when we get 2 wheels off the ground, especially without a diff lock. So I'll be curious to see how the Jimny goes. So So there's that traction control biting again. I'll just give this another crack here. Now that's just going to stall. So what I'll do, I'll back out of that, and then what I'll do is switch traction control off, and we'll just see whether that gives us a little bit more purchase on our mogul here in four-wheel drive high range. Because it is quite a tricky surface, especially here with the highway terrains. It is boggy and wet at the moment, so come on, come on. Clutch a little bit. Nice. Good on you, Jimny. That was great. So just needed a little bit more revs, and then it was able to climb over that without any dramas. So awesome. Loving this. This is so much fun. Okay, so it is now time for our hill. So what we typically do here is go into 4 low and lock any diffs. This doesn't have a diff lock, so I'm just going to stick it in 4 low. So you've got to push this lever down and go all the way to 4L. It beeps a couple of times once it's ready. All right, I think it's in 4L. It didn't actually make any noise. I'll see if it does anything. Oh no, it was, okay. There we go, it's in 4L now. So there are no diff locks, so I'll leave all that stuff. What I'll do, first time, I'll just try drive up it. Second time, I'm gonna come back and stop and see if it will then get up. It's gonna be a little bit tricky because it's a manual, and this will be testing my skills or lack thereof. So let's see how it goes. And it's on highway terrain tires too, which doesn't help, so. Come on, come on, come on. Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. Yeah. All right, there you go. Just stuck in that and it got up there. So we've got our mud bog here. I'm a little bit concerned because the wading depth of this is only 300 millimeters. So I'm hoping our mud bog is more than 300 millimeters. Our river is definitely more. It's like 700 or 750 at the moment. So wish me luck. Here we go. There we go, no problems at all. So, all right, now we do also have a hill descent control just for the purposes of testing that. That works in 4 high and 4 low. We're going to have the effects of engine braking in 4L anyway, so I'm going to switch this over to 4 high, and then I'll engage the hill descent control as well, just so we can get a feel for what it's like over there. And I'll come back again to do the hill in 4 low. All right, here we go with hill descent control. Let's see what it's like. I can't see anything over the edge there. I assume that's good. That's not, it's not great either though. It kind of just brakes and then doesn't really do much. So I think that is kind of useless. So we'll leave that off and we'll head back around now to do our hill one more time. All right, another bog here. Oh, that went over the bonnet. That is deep. Oops, that's all right. Don't tell anyone. Okay, it's time for the hill again in low range. I'm going to come to a stop this time, and we'll see how well it does taking off once we are stationary. So let's stop that there. All right, here we go. I'm really going to test my skills now. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Oh, I'm destroying that hill. But we made it. Good job, Jimny. Wow, this is actually really impressive. Even without diff locks, this is climbing like a champ, and it is on highway terrain tyres as well. So you just imagine what this would be like with a set of meaty all-terrains. So back through our bog, here we go. Okay, and final thing we're going to test is our rocks. Left this in low range. I'll be keen to see how this goes with 210 mil of ground clearance, because yeah, 210 mil is probably on the lower end of stuff that we've tested here before. Oh my God, this is amateur hour on the manual transmission. All right, let's give this a crack. Oh, Jesus. The car's broken, so I'm with it. Actually much harder than it looks to drive over rocks. Oh, there we go, a little tap there. Yeah, it's much harder than it looks to drive over rocks with a manual transmission. Every time we do this, it's typically, oh, that is crunching nicely. What I'll do, I'll get Sean to have a little look. Sean, what does that look like under the front there? If I keep going, will we leave the Suzuki's oil reserves on the ground here? That sounded like the suspension.
Your recovery point, you're fine.
Okay, all right. I have, tell you what, a lot of respect for people with manual four-wheel drives. It is a lot of bloody work here, especially on this stuff. I'm actually finding here with the handbrake, it actually works much easier to stop it from dropping in there. So there you go. I am genuinely impressed by the Suzuki Jimny as an off-road vehicle. Even with the highway terrain tyres, it's been able to tackle all this stuff without any dramas at all. So I think if you were to put a set of all-terrains on it, maybe even an air locker, because I know you can get one as an aftermarket accessory on these, I think it would genuinely go anywhere. And hats off to any of you that are using manual transmissions in your four-wheel drive. You are clearly far better than I am at operating a manual gearbox off-road. So we have just hit the road in the Jimny. Now, powering the Jimny is a 1.5 litre naturally aspirated petrol engine. It makes 75 kilowatts of power and 130 newton meters of torque. Now that may not sound like much, and that's because it isn't, but you've got to keep in mind that this only weighs just over 1,000 kilos. So it isn't really a huge amount of weight that you are moving around. So it is adequate, but not enough, I don't think. But anyway, especially when they have the booster jet engine in the Suzuki range, that would be such a good engine to fit into this. And there is like a 5-door version of the Jimny coming too. That definitely needs more power than this has. So yeah, and that's all exclusively mated in the Lite version to a 5-speed manual transmission. Now, what does all that feel like behind the wheels? So I'm going to drop this back a couple of gears. We'll go back to second actually. Doing 50 k's an hour. I've pinned that. It feels how you would think 130 newton meters of torque feels like. Not a great deal. So yeah, look, it's not going to set any world records, but you know, it is what it is. Now let's talk fuel economy. Suzuki claims a figure of just under 6.5 litres per 100 k's. We will dive through our little menu here. So we're currently sitting on 8 litres per 100. So it is higher than that claim, but we had to do some off-road driving earlier in the day. I did a couple of hot laps as well, so it's pushed the figure up a little bit, but you can rest assured that this is not going to be using a great deal of fuel. Okay, so time for our sine waves. Let's try and get this up to 130. I don't actually think we will get there, but I'll give it a shot anyway, because there is a bend before we get to the sine waves, and when I tip into it, it genuinely feels like we're going to roll over, especially with the wind. So I will be as brave as I can. I'm flat to the board. Stability control light is flashing as we lean in. Come on, there's 120. Oh, oh, we almost hit 130. Yeah, I don't know what it's like. The problem is, if you're ever at the point where you're hitting 130 on the sine waves and it is bouncing around, you have probably well and truly exceeded your just every other limit of the car. The wind, the crosswind that we have here today was really throwing it about everywhere. So yeah, can't really comment on body control, but it is sketchy when the speed picks up. Okay, let's go for a fang around our circuit. See what this feels like. I'll try not to roll it over. Oh wow, it has so much body roll. Oh, oh my goodness, yeah, it has so much body roll. You really can't do any great deal of pace here. And the wind, it is, because it only weighs 1,000 kilos, the wind is really throwing it about everywhere, and you don't have a great deal of feel through the steering wheel, so all of your inputs virtually have no interaction with where the car's going. So yeah, it is safe to say that you will not be setting any land speed records in your Jimny if you do find a mountain pass. Now it's time for 0 to 100. Because I want to go to 120 so we can get our 80 to 120 marker, I am literally going to be using the entire skid pan plus the dynamic handling area so that I don't run out of room. So wish me luck. I'm going to turn stability control off so that we don't lose any traction off the line here. And I'm going to be a little rough with you, Jimny, so hold on. Here we go. All right, come on. It's 80, 100. Come on. Oh, running out of room here, running out of room. All right, I'm going to stop. Oh my God. We literally have gone out onto the emergency braking area. So, okay, 0 to 100, 12.4 seconds. 80 to 120, 11.2 seconds. So it actually took most of the time to get from 80 to 120. That is where this really just runs out of steam. So there you go, that was good fun. Okay, so it is time to do our reverse speed test. So let's pop this into reverse and see how we go. 40 k's an hour in reverse. Okay, so ride as well. I mentioned earlier on our sine waves that, you know, I don't know, you can't really get fast enough to have too much of a drama, but in and around the city, it's actually pretty comfortable. It's quite a soft ride and, you know, nothing too crazy. So it's not going to do your head in if you're doing this and driving this as a daily. Now let's talk road noise. So it's not so much road noise, but wind noise and engine noise and stuff that you hear just doing highway speeds. It is really noisy inside the cabin. So yeah, unfortunately for a long distance drive, you are going to be hearing everything that's going on. Okay, let's talk visibility. So, I don't know, even though it isn't the tallest car in the world, I can see clearly down the front of the bonnet there. Visibility out the back is fine. You can see the edges of that tyre, and if you do have a rear passenger, you catch the edges of those headrests. Wing mirrors are nice and big too, but yeah, no blind spot monitor, no reverse camera, so parking will be a little touch and go if you're not entirely confident with that. So if you do want to tow, it has a 1,300 kilo brake towing capacity, which I think is not too bad, and a turning circle of under 10 meters, so it is a really tight car to turn lock to lock. So the Suzuki Jimny, look, it is so much fun off-road, and in that environment it really excels because it's light, you can chuck it about a bit, and even on these tiny little tyres it actually does pretty well. It is let down on the dynamics front, and it's actually super sketchy when you have lots of wind and you're just trying to drive at like highway speeds. It really is a little unnerving to drive it. So it does need more power, and when they're going to do the 5-door version, I really hope they just go to town on an engine that will actually move it. Because this with 4 people in it is slow, let alone with the 5-door version where you got luggage and people. So look, the positives outweigh the negatives, but it is worth keeping in mind that this isn't going to set your world on fire in terms of pace and dynamics. So if you do buy it, it is going to be something that you want to be just driving in and around the city and perhaps out in the bush when you do go off-roading. So have you bought one of these? What's it like longer term? Let me know in the comments section down below. I'm keen to see what you think about the Suzuki Jimny. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure you like it and you share it with your mates. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. But until next time, take it easy.